before I forget, I wanted to mention one last time because I have this really common problem of just forgetting things. I don't know. I think I'm losing my mind. I think I'm getting old. I'm getting up there in age. I'm getting to that age where you start forgetting things, and people are like, Adrian, stop talking. I had somebody somebody recently was like, Adrian, every time you talk about being old, I get upset because you're only 25, and so never mind. I'm not. But nonetheless, we are having our fall appeal for Catholic Spirit Radio. And so I wanted to give a shout out to Catholic Spirit Radio. I think it's pretty awesome because they're having Fulton Sheen experts on for their fall appeal to talk about Fulton Sheen. Their theme is Full Sheen Ahead. And I think it's kind of cool, too, because they're in Illinois. And Peoria, Illinois is where Fulton Sheen grew up. And I've been there because I love Fulton Sheen. So I've been to Peoria, Illinois, and prayed at his tomb there. It's a pretty awesome place to go. So tune in and remember to always support your local Catholic radio station because no one else is. It's either you or it's no one. So make sure you're supporting your Catholic radio station. And if you live in Illinois, that would be Catholic Spirit Radio. But joining us right now is Kim Schwartz. She's with Texas Right to Life. Good morning to you, Kim.
Good morning. Happy to be here.
Oh, praise be to God. I'm glad to have you on. Now, there were a number of stories that were on throughout the month this week. In fact, I was looking through the ones that you sent me, and I was like, man, there's like that many. And then this morning, there's like another like 4 that came up.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, oh, my goodness, there is a lot of information. But I guess we'll start from the beginning. City dedicates $500,000 to abortion groups. Texas Right to Life sues. Tell me about this.
All right. So last month, well, obviously it's the month of the Holy Rosary, so we're going to have a lot of pro-life victories this month. So thank you to Mary for that. One of those victories is Texas Right to Life suing the city of San Antonio. Last month in September, the city dedicated $500,000 to give to abortion groups. And they named groups that send women out of state for abortions and also actually coach women how to have illegal abortions here in Texas and get abortion pills by mail. So naturally, the liberal city council said, let's give taxpayer money to that. That's a great idea. However, whenever the government gives money to organizations that are committing crimes, that means the government is complicit in their criminal activity. And I know most people are listening and thinking, like, what else is new? The government being complicit in illegal activity. But especially this life-ending activity of abortion, we do not want taxpayer dollars to be involved in that. And so Texas Right to Life sued to stop the city of San Antonio from actually giving this money to the abortion groups. They've already earmarked it. They've already set it aside in the budget, and they haven't actually dished it out yet. And so we're suing to stop that, prevent them from giving any taxpayer money to the abortion groups. Naturally, the city council, they're not defending themselves, actually. They are saying, yes. So in the media, whenever they were responding to this lawsuit in interviews, they weren't saying like, oh, well, what we're doing is legal. They're saying, but we haven't done the illegal thing yet. So that's a defense for you. That's a take. So you can see they're hopefully going to backpedal from this and realize like they are in the losing corner here. And it's important for pro-life citizens to step up and fight back, because the other important thing to realize with this case is that if San Antonio succeeds in giving taxpayer dollars to abortion groups, do you think they're going to be the only city that does that? You know, the city of Austin, even in other states too, that might have conservative state governments, but local liberal governments, that they're going to try to, replicate that. So it's important that we stop it here.
Kim, I'm wondering, I'm just thinking out loud here. When we go to the post office, for instance, and we ship things out, there's always that little prompt that they give you, like, hey, are you shipping anything liquid, fragile, lithium batteries, that sort of thing? Is there anything in place that would prevent you from shipping out medication like this, or so-called medication, so that people can have abortions like that?
Yes, but Joe Biden. So that's my short answer there. By federal law, it is illegal to ship things that are illegal into. So like somebody in Colorado could not ship marijuana to someone in Texas. Mm-hmm. And so whenever Roe v. Wade was overturned, the Biden administration was asked, like, hey, for the Postal Service, like, should they be looking into these organizations that are mailing abortion pills? Because we know that it's illegal in some states. And the Biden administration basically responded, well, we don't know that they're going to illegally have an abortion. What if they just went to this abortion website and ordered the abortion pills, but then just didn't have the abortion or didn't intend to use those pills for an abortion? That's their argument. Very bad argument. Not surprising, though, from the Biden administration.
Well, I guess I should just order ghost gun parts then.
I guess
Same
so.
thing, right?
Just don't put them
I'm just not going to put it together.
Yeah, just don't put it together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of a strange thing. Well, I mean, I could see this working because I'm just thinking about the way that they do birth control, right? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, we're going to prescribe you birth control. But it's for this other thing, though. It's not actually to prevent birth because, I mean, I know you said you don't want to do that, but you got to be on birth control because you have X, Y, or Z problem. And they kind of just push it that way. So I could imagine a situation they're like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, the abortion pill also does other things, too. And so we're going to prescribe it for that reason. It's just coincidental that you also are pregnant and want an abortion. I can imagine something like that happening.
That's the reason the Biden administration is using. The city of San Antonio, though, they are explicit, and the mayor said if we can pay for women to travel to other states for abortions, we're going to do that. And so obviously pro-life citizens were upset by that, and so Texas Right to Life stepped in and sued the city government. We're going to see how that plays out, but we're really optimistic about it, and I think that this is a good opportunity to build a record, especially against these abortion funds, because we don't have abortion clinics in Texas that are killing babies like here on our streets, but you have this like travel agency kind of mentality of these groups, even Planned Parenthood still operating as like an abortion travel agency for women to go to other states. And so it's also important to know lawsuits are not free. So if you want to read more on this and chip into our lawsuit, you can go to texasrighttolife.com.
There was another story kind of related to this, and I want to kind of go to that. I'm not sure if you are caught up with it or not, but you can let me know. I saw this story this morning, and it was kind of confusing because it said U.S. saw increase in abortions after Roe v. Wade was overturned. And then I was reading through the statistics, and it was saying, okay, over a 12-month period, Illinois had 21,000, Florida had 20,000, North Carolina had 11,000, and California had 8,000. And I'm thinking, and these are rounded numbers, so they'd say that was the increase, but then they said there was a giant decrease as well. Texas was down 37,000, Georgia 20,000, Tennessee 13,000, and I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, how does this add up to an increase? Are you familiar with that story? Do you know what's going on here?
Yes. So yesterday, this actually came out. New York Times and CNN, they published a story on new data that suggests that abortions in the year after Roe v. Wade was overturned, that abortions actually increased. And so the underlying premise of that headline that they're trying to push is that abortion bans don't actually save any lives. You're not actually accomplishing what you're trying to do. But our immediate reaction should be skepticism of the data, or at least skepticism of their conclusion, because they have this narrative that they want to push that abortion bans don't actually save any lives. So we can see in these trends, we can already start poking holes in that narrative. So one is that abortions in states where it's very liberal, like California, New York, and even Illinois, they were already increasing before Roe was overturned. And so we're still working on this, but we need to look at whether that is a massive increase or what the different rate is that we've seen.
Yeah, when we come back, we will touch on this. Plus, did you hear about Britney Spears? Yikes, that's a very concerning situation. And we'll talk about that when we get back. More with Kim Schwartz when we get back. And welcome back to Catholic Drive Time. This is your host, Adrian Fonseca. It's so good to be on with you today. Praise be to God. Joining me right now is Kim Schwartz with Texas Right to Life. We are talking about pro-life news, as we would do.
Love it.
Yeah, praise be to God. And we're covering a story before we went to break. The U.S. saw increase in abortions after Roe was overturned. I wanted to kind of wrap that conversation up. And Kim was telling me during the break a really interesting thing that we should kind of make as a takeaway. But before we get to that, I want to say, at the end of the day, it doesn't actually matter if it's not decreasing and it's actually increasing. That doesn't change the fact that we should still want to ban abortion because the law is a teacher. And so whenever the laws reflect that we love abortion, if the laws reflect that we hate life, if the laws reflect that we are okay with murder, that is a negative for society in and of itself, even if everybody ignores the law or if nobody ignores the law, because the following the law is a separate issue than whether or not the law is there. Those are two separate issues. And the fact that the law needs to be there is a very important thing, despite the fact. So even if we all say we're going to make abortion unthinkable, and so abortion is so perfectly legal across the states, but zero abortions, we should still make it illegal because it is the right thing to do to say that murder should be illegal. That is just the right thing to do. It reflects that. We want our laws of our country to reflect the law divine. But Kim had a really interesting point that she was sharing with me during the break about the kind of the perception of what's being put out there.
Oh, yeah. So you'll see these headlines from New York Times and CNN and all of these big media outlets with this story alleging that pro-life laws did not make a difference, that abortion bans didn't actually result in a decrease in abortions. But they'll try to say the same thing or different things in the same breath. And so you'll remember back in July, there was a report that came out that said there was a 10,000 increase in births in Texas after the Texas Heartbeat Act took effect. And when that news came out, these big media outlets were saying, oh, this is so terrible. So many women were forced to give birth to these children who are going to grow up in poverty. Like, this is just terrible that 10,000 babies were born. And so they'll say that was the effect of the abortion ban. But now they're saying there was no effect on the abortion ban. They don't care which one gets you to the conclusion of abortion bans are bad. They just want you to believe abortion bans are bad, even if the data behind it actually contradicts itself whenever you come out with the studies. And so what the big indicator will actually be as time goes forward is whether there's an increase in births or not in the states that have abortion bans. That's going to be the real solid kind of thing that you can't argue with as much, like we saw in Texas with the Texas Heartbeat Act. But until then, the big media outlets, the liberal activists, they don't actually care what the studies say. They don't actually care if there are lives saved or not. They just want you to believe that abortion bans are bad.
Yeah, I think this is something that we have to keep in mind, especially in regards to public perception and public conversation when you're out with your friends, your family, your coworkers, because 99.9% of people, and I'm just making up the statistic, and did you know like 90% of statistics are completely made up on the spot? Yeah, it's true. Don't fact check me on that. The idea here is that vast majority of people do not read beyond the headlines. They do not read beyond the headlines, and they don't read the footnotes. In fact, one of my favorite theological journals, actually, their subtitle is "Always Read the Footnotes," and I think it's interesting because people will throw out these claims. They're like, "Where did you get that from? Show me your sources." And they're like, "No, I won't." So that's kind of the big deal. So for you and I, we need to be aware of it so that way we can debunk this when it comes up, because it will come up. It will come up, and people are going to be like, see, the back alley abortion, see, the coat hanger abortion, see, these things are happening, and we have to be ready to give a defense of the hope that is within us. Okay, on to this story. Britney Spears reveals abortion regret in new memoir. And I honestly don't talk about pop culture hardly ever because, honestly, I don't care. And especially with a lot of these people like Britney Spears, I didn't care about Britney Spears. I didn't care about Justin Timberlake when I was a kid. And so I definitely don't care about them now that I'm a grown man. So I'm like, okay, whatever, no big deal. But I think it actually is important to keep in mind because these things influence society, influence culture, and influence young people. Because for some reason, a lot of young people actually care about what celebrities say and do. And so I think it's a very telling situation. And it reveals a little bit of truth in the abortion situation. Kim, what were your thoughts on this?
Same as you, I am not invested in pop culture. I have never paid any mind to Britney Spears until this story, actually. I started writing an article last week for Texas Right to Life about Britney Spears revealing in her new memoir that she had an abortion, and she said, to this day, it is the most agonizing thing I've ever experienced. And she reveals, actually, it wasn't that she wanted the abortion. She was excited to be pregnant and excited to be a mom and have the baby. And Justin Timberlake said, pressured her against the abortion, allegedly. And he was saying, I'm just not ready to be a dad. This is not right for us. We're too young. She was 19 or 20 at the time. They were both 19 and 20. And so Justin Timberlake allegedly pressured her to have the abortion. And so this, digging more into it, you could see actually the profound regret just scattered throughout her life. Brittany has not been in the best position over the last 20 years or so. There's definitely a lot of trauma there, but this abortion, you can see, has added to that trauma. She said after the abortion, she was crying on her bathroom floor, just sobbing on her bathroom floor. And Justin Timberlake allegedly sat on the bed and played guitar to try to comfort her or something during her mourning after the abortion.
Yeah, it reveals truly what abortion is.
Yeah.
Because abortion is not just another surgery. Yeah. And people like to say, it's like removing an appendix or something like that. And look, I am a wimp when it comes to surgery, okay? I'm a wimp when it comes to dental work, all that stuff. Do not like it. I'm like, no, I don't want to do it. I'm like complaining the entire time. I hate it. And when I get home, I'm miserable. I'm sulking. I'm upset that I had to go through it. And I'm like, I hate this. But you would never see me mourning over a surgery. I may even say, man, when I had my wisdom teeth out, I was like, darn, I missed my wisdom tooth. And I'm like, oh, well, whatever. And I was kind of upset. I'm like, darn, I missed my teeth. But I'm never like weeping over the fact that I'm missing my teeth. I'm not crying. I'm like, oh, my teeth are gone. But what do you see when people have an abortion? We know intuitively, even though people try to brainwash you and say it's not a baby, Justin Timberlake saying he's not ready to be a dad. I hate to tell you, you are a dad. You're the father of a dead child now. Committing an abortion does not make you no longer a father. It makes you the father of a dead child. That's what it does. And just like someone who has a miscarriage or someone who has a stillbirth or a child dies young, it's not like you cease to be a father. You're still a father. You're still a mother. And this is something that they don't grasp until it's too late. And I say until it's too late because they think that, once I have this abortion, then I'll no longer be a mom. I'll no longer be a dad. But once they do it, they realize the mistake they made. And it hurts. And it stays with them forever. And there can be healing after abortion. There's great groups like Rachel's Vineyard that help you heal after abortion. But the very fact that even exists, I've never had to go through a healing after wisdom teeth removal where I have to get coping mechanism for losing my teeth. And you do for that. Why? That's the question, right? Why is that the case? In the same sense, people are freaking out and saying, Justin Timberlake pressured her to have an abortion. That's so terrible. How dare he? Yada, yada, yada. And I'm thinking, wait, it's either a clump of cells or it's a baby, right? It's either a clump of cells or it's a human life. And it can't just be based off of whether the mom wants it or not. It has to be objective. And so people say this, and it's absolute absurdity. And lastly, what happened to the feminism movement? What happened to women make their own choices, right? Either men can pressure or they can't. Either women are responsible or they're not. And I would say, of course they are responsible. And of course the man is responsible as well. They both are. They are both complicit in the act, and they're both required to be sustaining the child. They have a duty to the child. And if one of them commits abortion, they're both at fault. And if they decide to keep the child, they're both responsible for the child. In both ways, they have responsibility. They have a duty to that child. And they do not get to lose that duty. The lies of feminism get broken down whenever you see these things play out. So I want to move on to this other story. And there could be a lot more said there. And let's look at Texas Right to Life for that article when it comes out. But this story low-key shook me. Not because I was surprised, but just because of how explicit it was. Joe Biden compares abortion to God and banning abortion to Satan. Tell me about this.
Again, not surprising from Joe Biden. So a while ago, he tweeted trying to appeal to, I guess, moderate voters. And he tweeted, my dad used to say, Joey, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. Which, first of all, we all need to pause and realize anytime Joe Biden tells a story about his dad or his childhood, allegedly.
I think he says Joey, everything else after is going to be a lie.
Yeah. So we'll give him the benefit of the doubt, though. So he's saying, Joey, don't compare me to the almighty, compare me to the alternative. He continues in the tweet, Republicans want to ban abortion and Democrats want to codify Roe. And so his angle there is to say, the almighty, they're the Democrats who want to protect Roe v. Wade. And the Republicans are the devil because they want to save babies from abortion. And there are so many cringe moments in that theology there. From first off, the basis of do we respect life or not? And obviously, Joe Biden has missed the mark on that one time and again. It's not too late. We still pray for his conversion. But also the theology behind it that we shouldn't compare ourselves to God. We shouldn't strive to be like God. Just as long as we're better than the devil, we're okay. It's like, that's not the best take.
I think there was a joke that, who was it? There was a popular Catholic speaker who made this joke once, and I've always remembered it, but I cannot remember who said it. And then I've heard other people use the joke before, and I'm like, who was the original person who said this joke? And I can't remember. But he says, he's like, look, the majority of us, we're like, look, I'm not Adolf Hitler, and I'm not Mother Teresa. I'm like somewhere in the middle there, and that's okay, right? And it's like, no, like you should strive to be just like not Hitler. You should strive to be perfect. And I think that's very important for us. I also like what you put in the email when you sent this to me. You said, it shows on so many levels how cringe Joe Biden's theology is.
100%.
So true, Kim. So true.
Pray for based theology for Joe Biden.
All right, we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, I have a really awesome story to tell you. We're talking about some bad news. Let's talk about some good news when we come back.